The morning sun had barely crested the hills when the roar of heavy machinery shattered the peace of Carter Ranch. For over 150 years, the ranch had stood as a pillar of history and family legacy, built by Jeremiah Carter's great-grandfather, a freedman who had fought tooth and nail to carve out a place in the unforgiving frontier. Jeremiah, now in his 70s and lovingly known as Grandpa Carter, had devoted his life to preserving both the land and the stories woven into its soil. But that morning, a convoy of vehicles from the local homeowners association, the HOA, descended on the property with demolition orders in hand. The HOA had long insisted that the ranch violated zoning rules and modern aesthetic standards of the nearby developments. Jeremiah, however, had fought them at every step, citing federal preservation rights and the ranch's historical significance. Yet, in their arrogance, the HOA board believed they could strong-arm the old man into submission. Bulldozers lined up at the fence, and uniformed security agents stepped out, ready to carry out the demolition. Jeremiah stood tall on his porch, cane in hand, his weathered face calm but resolute. He had been expecting this moment. Weeks earlier, he had filed petitions with the Department of the Interior, and after uncovering the ranch's ties to African American heritage dating back to the Reconstruction era, the federal government had quietly granted him protections. What the HOA didn't know was that Jeremiah had made one more call that morning to the Federal Protective Service. As the HOA team began shouting orders and moving toward the barn, the wail of sirens pierced the air. Black SUVs rolled up the dirt road, lights flashing, and out stepped federal officers in navy jackets bearing bold yellow letters. Their presence was immediate and commanding. The bulldozers froze, mid-engine roar, and the HOA's self-appointed enforcers paled at the sight of real lawmen. By federal order, this property is protected under the Historic Preservation Act, the lead officer announced, holding up documents that left no room for argument. Any attempt to damage or alter this land constitutes a federal crime. Jeremiah's neighbors, who had gathered at the roadside, erupted in cheers. The HOA president sputtered and threatened lawsuits, but the federal officers escorted him and his crew off the property, warning them that further trespass would lead to prosecution. Jeremiah exhaled deeply, his eyes glistening. The ranch had survived yet another battle, not just for him, but for the generations who had built and preserved it. For him, it wasn't about winning against the HOA. It was about ensuring that his grandchildren and great-grandchildren would inherit more than just land. They would inherit pride, history, and proof that even when the powerful storm injustice can still stand its ground.